everybody. Welcome back to the studio at Gallery North. I'm Mrs. Grass with your daily dose of art. On the docket for today's lesson is watercolor resists. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to do some watercolor painting and resists at home with the supplies you have in your house. So let's get started. First things first, let's talk about a list of things you're going to need to create with today. If you've got it, crayons. I think everybody's got crayons at home. These are a great tool for creating. I've got a ton of crayons here, but you might be lucky and have some oil pastels at home. These oil pastels sometimes come in those kits you get for your birthday or for the holidays, like a box filled with watercolors and colored pencils. Some have chalk pastels and some have oil pastels. The difference between a chalk pastel and an oil pastel is that a chalk pastel is more like street chalk, like what you would use on your sidewalk or on your chalkboard. And oil pastels have an oil in them, so they're more greasy, like a crayon. These are great for doing a watercolor resist. You're also going to need some watercolors. I've got a couple of different pan sets here. These are great little starter sets for kids. You can see this one's well used from the studio here. We use watercolor paints quite a bit for many of our classes and programs. If you have these at home, you can use them, but maybe you don't have watercolors, and that's totally fine, okay? I want you to take a minute to look in your baking cabinet or ask mom and dad for help. You might have some food coloring in there, and believe it or not, if we add this to a little bit of water, we can use these as watercolor paints today. So I have the traditional colors here that come in a cake decorating set, and that's red, blue, yellow, the primary colors, and green. Let's talk about these primary colors though. I hope that you guys know that these are the primary colors. And if you don't know, there's a song. There are 3 primary colors. Only 3 primaries, it's true. The world is made of many other colors, and we're just talking red, yellow, and blue. Woo! These colors are the colors we use to get all the other colors in the rainbow. So if you have these, you can make a lot of different colors today. Okay, just saying. If you're gonna use a set of food coloring to make a painting today, you're gonna need some sort of vessel to put them in so that you can add a little bit of water to them. I have a palette here today, but you can use a couple of small bowls from the kitchen. You can use a plate or 2, maybe you have some paper plates. Remember, it's food coloring, so it's gonna rinse right out of those dishes, no big deal, okay? And of course, you're gonna need some paintbrushes, all right? You might have some paintbrushes in a watercolor set you have at home, or you might have a small collection of them. Watercolor brushes are ideal for the project we're doing today, and the difference between a watercolor brush and any other kind of brush is that they're really soft. They feel so nice on your skin. They're so soft to use because watercolors are a very delicate and liquidy paint. If you have a paintbrush that's stiffer, it's probably a bristle brush and used for something like acrylic painting or oil painting. So you can use that today if it's the only thing you've got, but if you have something softer, you're gonna wanna use that. And if you don't have any kind of tiny brush like that, mom or dad might have a paintbrush down in the basement or in the garage that they use for house painting. And this can be used today. This is a totally fine brush to use. It's a big brush, so it'll cover a lot of surface on your paper, but you can use this if you don't have any other paintbrush at home. Once you have your supplies set and ready, it's time to get started. Okay guys, I wanna share with you my ocean in a jar. I've had this jar for quite some time now, and in it are 2 things. On the bottom is some good old-fashioned tap water with a little bit of blue food coloring in it. And on the top is some vegetable oil. This veggie oil is floating right on top of the surface of the water. They don't mix, they don't like each other really. So this is sort of what's gonna happen when we make our watercolor resist today. You're gonna find that whatever waxy or oily tool you use to draw with is going to resist or reject the watercolor paint that we put on top of it. I'm gonna take a minute to mix this up. I'm gonna give it a good shake, and we're gonna let it sit here while I create my work of art today, and we'll see what happens if they stay mixed or if they separate. So let's see. All right, I have one big solid blue jar now. I'm gonna set this down and keep an eye on it while we're working. All right, so to get started, I'm gonna make sure that my paints are ready, but if I don't have a nice watercolor set like this, and I'm gonna make some paint out of food coloring, I'm just gonna take my little food coloring containers and put a few drops in whatever vessel I've decided to make my paint in. Got some yellow, some red, some blue, primary colors. And then of course they have good old-fashioned green there. But if you don't have green, remember that yellow and blue can make green. And then to these, I'm gonna carefully pour a little bit of water. So there, I have watercolors ready to go. You know what, I'll test them out first. You can take a look. I'm gonna take a little bit of green on my paintbrush. Oh, look at that, what a beautiful color. And I'm gonna pick a new color, so I'm gonna rinse my brush. Pick another color. Oh, these are great. They're juicy, delicious. I love these colors. I'm definitely gonna use some of this food coloring in my painting today. Looks good, right? Okay, so when I'm ready, and I have my supplies ready to go, I'm gonna set this aside. I'm gonna get my paper ready. I'm gonna think of what I'm gonna paint. And today, I was thinking about one of the artists that we really love here at the studio, that we use in a lot of our lessons, is Jim Dine. He was a pop artist, and he's very well known for his hearts. So I thought I'd make a heart picture today. So before I use my watercolors, I want to make sure that I get my crayon part done. And like I said, you can use crayon today, or you can try some oil pastel if you happen to have some of those at home. So I'm going to use both today since I have both, so you can see what they look like on your picture. Okay, so I'm going to start off by making a heart inspired, like I said, by Jim Dine. I think I'm going to make 2 hearts today. If you have trouble drawing a heart, I have 2 tips for drawing a heart. Okay, so I'll do the first one. The first one is if you can write out the letter M and the letter V, then you can make a heart. So I'm going to make a letter M, just like that. And then I'm gonna put a V right underneath it, just like that. There's one heart. I wanna make sure that I really press hard with my crayon so that when I put my watercolor over the top of it, it definitely will create a resist. We'll see them separate from one another, okay? And then I'm gonna make another heart. And this one I'm gonna use in oil pastel. And here's my other heart trick. 2 candy canes. So if you can draw 1 candy cane, just like that. I'm gonna go over it twice so it's nice and strong. My color's nice and strong, okay? And then I do another candy cane right next to it. Wind up with a heart. Now I'm gonna decorate a little. Jim Dine used all sorts of colors and crazy shapes and patterns, so I'm gonna think about those when I'm decorating my hearts today. I think I'm going to make one of my hearts glowing. This reminds me also of Keith Haring. Keith Haring created a lot of symbols in his art, and with simple motion lines like this, he could illustrate that something was glowing or barking or moving. So there's some glow lines, and maybe I'll add some polka dots. I'm pressing nice and hard with my oil pastel too. Okay, and then I'm gonna use some crayon to decorate my other heart. I think I'm gonna put some bumpies all the way around my heart. Have fun decorating. Use any shapes and patterns you like. Maybe you even want to include letters or words. And I think on the inside of this, I'm gonna put stripes. Oh man, I broke a crayon. You know what though? That's totally fine. Broken crayons are some of the best tools to use when you're creating. Did you know that if you use something really short to draw with, it helps you grab that tool in a way that develops your fine motor skills. It makes you a better artist. We call this the tri-hold. It's got 3 fingers holding onto it. So if you're having trouble holding your pencil, try something a little shorter and you'll train your hand to grab it so you can be a little bit better at drawing and writing, okay? So save those broken crayons, no big deal. All right, I have my 2 hearts and I'm gonna do the resist part now, and that's adding the watercolor. So I have my water ready so that if I want to clean my brush, I can. I've got my set of watercolors if I want to use them, and I also have my dyes here. My food coloring, okay? Oh my gosh, I got it on my hand. No big deal, right? I'm gonna rinse it off. Okay, sometimes you have to get a little bit messy for the sake of your artwork, right? Okay, let's see if my resist works. Let's see if my watercolor doesn't stick to my oil pastel and crayon. So I'm gonna pick this deep blue color. And the way watercolor works is if I take some water and I put it on the pan, I'm gonna mix it up and my brush will get loaded up with paint. Okay, I'm gonna paint right over this. I'm gonna go right over it. I hope it doesn't stick. Let's see. Oh my gosh, I'm nervous. Let's see. Look at that. They're resisting each other. The watercolor is staying off my picture of my heart. My drawing is staying nice and clear. Look at how that red pops with that dark blue too. This is so much fun. I love this. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. I wonder what color I should use on my other heart. You know, this is a great idea for making cards. You could decorate cards with some techniques like this. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna use another blue, but a lighter blue on this one. So I have my light blue. Oh, you know what? Forget that. I'm gonna use some food coloring. Let's take this red food coloring. Let's see if it works. Look at that. I feel the inside of my heart. I'm going right over my crayon and it's not sticking. This is just red food coloring. If I didn't have watercolors at home, I can use this. OMG, how cool is this? Science meets art right here, guys. These 2 liquid materials, they don't want to work together, right? Oh my gosh, this heart is glowing. This looks amazing. This was just with good old-fashioned food coloring. I could even cut this in half and have 2 separate paintings, or I can go ahead and blend them together. Some fun tricks with watercolors is if you have some water down on your paper already, we call this wet on wet. If you add some really juicy water and then take a color and drop it down, you're gonna see those colors explode. You can do some tricks like that on your paper. Whatever you create today, guys, you have to make sure that you share with us. We would love to see how you took this technique and made it your own, what sort of things you created. I'm done. There we go. I love it. Hearts. I don't want to pick it up on its side yet because it's still so wet. It might drip. So I'm going to let it stay here flat and dry out so that I can pick it up later and hang it up on my wall. Yeah, it's separating again. This oil and water, they don't like each other. They're always going to resist one another. Cool, ocean in a jar. This is a cool project to make. If you have an old jar, a mason jar or water bottle, a little bit of water at the bottom, vegetable oil at the top, and you have an ocean in a jar. I want to thank everybody for joining us today for your daily dose of art here at the studio at Gallery North. I hope you enjoyed creating a watercolor resist painting today with either watercolors or food coloring, crayons or oil pastel. Don't forget to share the things you've created with us on social media. On Facebook at Gallery North or on Instagram at Gallery North LI. Tune in tomorrow for another daily dose of art where we're going to share a little bit of cartooning with you. Until then, have a really creative day. See you later. Bye.